Has Pakistan's plan to deport 1.7 million Afghan refugees flopped? We ask this because as the clock ticked and approached the November 1 deadline, only about 130,000 Afghans left the country since Islamabad ordered them to leave at the start of October. And now the remaining Afghans living in Pakistan face the threat of detention and deportation at the hands of the Pakistani authorities. Today, as the deadline expired, arrests have reportedly been made across Pakistan's 4 provinces, Islamabad saying that the sweep is part of its new anti-migrant crackdown. Pakistan authorities are targeting all undocumented or unregistered foreigners, and that mainly affects Afghans. Pakistan authorities began to open dozens of holding centers across the country, some with the capacity to detain several thousands. They have started processing Afghans ahead of the mass deportations. The Pakistan government saying that it has already started the repatriations of those who had not already left. Pakistan's Interior Minister confirming this on Twitter, or platform X as it's now called. But why is Pakistan ordering the deportations is the immediate question. Islamabad has justified its decision to expel undocumented migrants by blaming them for its security crisis. Remember, the country is facing rising militancy and economic crisis and souring ties with the Taliban authorities in Afghanistan. And these are the reasons driving Pakistan's mass evictions. While the Pakistan government claims that the expulsions are necessary to protect its welfare and security, critics say the Afghan refugees are being unfairly punished. They are being punished because of the strained ties between the government in Islamabad and the rulers of Kabul. It's not just us saying that. Listen into what the Afghans who were leaving Pakistan yesterday had to say.
We are helpless. We have nothing in our homeland, no home, nowhere to go. For the past 2 days, we have been waiting here, but no one is doing anything about our crossing over. What should we do? Now that we have come here, we should at least be allowed to cross over.
I had my own business in Karachi. I left it. I sold all my stuff and I'm leaving with that money. Everything else was confiscated. I was arrested by the police a day ago and released on a payment of 6,000 rupees. They are arresting people and releasing them on payment of money. The situation is very bad.
We lived nearly 40 years in Pakistan, but they did not accept us, nor given us any documents so we can stay. As you can see, hundreds of families in these trucks are going back to Afghanistan, and we are gathered here at the Torkham border. Some of these families are going to Kabul, some to Jalalabad, and some Kunar. But the disappointing thing for us is that they should have given us at least 1 year. Due to the short time of only 1 month, we sold our properties at very cheap prices. Now we are on our way to Afghanistan and winter is coming and there will be no work for us there.
Lines of refugees with luggage in their hands and on top of the vehicles could be seen at the bus terminal yesterday. They crammed into trucks and buses heading towards the border hours before the expiration of the deadline. Meanwhile, the Taliban authorities in Afghanistan appealed for more time for the refugees. They said that around 60,000 Afghans have returned between the 23rd of September to the 22nd of October from Pakistan. And ironically, the Taliban called Pakistan's deportation order cruel and barbaric. They urged Pakistan to give undocumented Afghans in the country more time to leave, with bottlenecks of returnees forming at the border crossings. Pakistan's order has drawn widespread criticism from UN agencies, rights groups as well. Human Rights Watch on Tuesday, in fact, accused Pakistan of resorting to threats, abuse and detention to force Afghan asylum seekers to return to Afghanistan. It had appealed for Pakistani authorities to drop the deadline and work with the UN Refugee Agency to register those without papers. Remember, the situation in Afghanistan remains dangerous for many who fled, and this deportation further exposes them to dangers, including threats to their lives. Pakistan is not a signatory to the UN Refugee Convention, and it has no domestic legal framework for refugees. And this makes migrants and refugees there vulnerable to the changing policies. But the Pakistan government is paying little attention to these concerns. You see, this has to do with sending out a message to the Taliban. The refugees are just a tool in this game. Pakistan has a range of demands from the Taliban, including acting against its Pakistani offshoot, the Tehreek-e-Taliban, or the TTP. The terror group is behind a host of attacks against the Pakistan forces for the past 1 year, and the TTP's targeted attacks on Pakistani soil continue to grow. The TTP finding safe haven in Afghanistan, even though Pakistan has repeatedly called for the Taliban to stop supporting the TTP, its appeals have gone unheard. And now we have this situation in hand, a situation that essentially threatens to become a human rights catastrophe. Pakistan is mounting a campaign of harassment, of intimidation against the Afghan refugees to teach the Taliban a lesson. And the anti-immigrant witch hunt, so to say, is being carried out by a caretaker government. But will this decision really help Pakistan, or will the Afghan exodus from Pakistan turn catastrophic without urgent aid? WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.